Hi, folks, and thanks for joining me here on day 7 on the little Peter Pan radio from 1933. Just recapping day 6, I went back and filled this area back in where I had shrinkage with the water-based filler, where the gaps were there in the quarter round that I had to build up. Anyway, you can see I went back with the epoxy-based product. Again, I had used this in the past, and I think on 2 different occasions, and it worked perfect. And a little bit different application than this, but I tell you, this has been setting up now for right at 30 hours, or really north of 30 hours, so it's like solid as a rock. One thing that I like, I was able to take the 60 grit paper and again put pressure from here to here and create a fairly nice corner piece after forming it by hand. And it also created some texture in the epoxy. Makes it look more wood-like. And then you guys probably caught I used a razor and went back in here and created some grain lines. And I've tried to get a light positioned here where they show up on camera, so hopefully you're able to see them. Wish I could spray toners today, but again, the humidity is in the 80 some percentile, and looks like we've got a good chance of rain the next few days, so we'll let the humidity settle down. In the meantime, I'm going to pull the Peter Pan chassis over here. Let's bring it up on the Variac and see if this thing will play again. It's been a long time since I brought it up, and let's just see what happens here. Okay, I remember checking the line cord, so it was safe to use. Go ahead and get it plugged in here. I think that's far enough. Flip on the Variac. And I'm going to go ahead and flip the radio on and turn the volume up at least 3/4 of the way. And let's just bring the Variac up slow. Alright, we'll let it hang out there just for a moment and let those capacitors reform just a bit. You can see there I'm drawing about 0.14 amps. Alright, let's go ahead and bring it up a bit more. Okay, I got the volume turned wide open. I actually hear something.
The most fun music.
Got a little antenna hooked up here to a piece of coax, and it goes to about 100 feet of wire, but it's just coiled up right now underneath my workbench due to all the lightning that we've had. Had it wrapped up in a tree, but pulled it down with all the storm activity. Okay, about 105 volts there and 0.32 amps, so I think I'm going to let it be right there for now. We'll just keep an eye on the amp meter. Okay, that's the tuning gang there all the way open. And all the way closed.
I mean, they never had the privilege of being able to see one of their grandsons at 3 in the afternoon on Passover. Gone on into history. And thou hast spared a few of thy children.
Not much going on here. One station here that's blaring fairly good. And I'm not sure if this is showing up here. I don't want to really touch the chassis right now. But there's red electrical tape over here on this side. And you can see the solder job that's been done here on somebody putting another volume control in. So that doesn't appear to be original. But everything else looks fairly close to being original. Don't really feel any heat off the top of the transformer right now. So anyway, let me power this thing back off and let me discharge the electrolytic capacitors underneath. And let's take a look at the underneath side again, and a closer look here at some of the work here that's been done on the front around the volume taper. Okay, everything's unplugged. I can say this transformer right here is super cool. I don't think I've ever had a transformer operate that cool, but again, I only brought the voltage up around 105 volts, but it is like even cool to the touch. And we'll take a closer look at that as well. The fasteners look odd in my mind that hold the power transformer to the chassis. So I just wonder if it's been replaced at one time. So for folks out there new, I think I've showed this tip many times, and so have others. Again, I've got a this grid lead coming off of this tube, and these things are not all the way down, and I probably left them that way for a reason. But anyway, the best way to get this off here without damaging the tube, because I can't tell you how many grid caps I've pulled off, is try to get you a small screwdriver underneath and just pry up and have it release. Sometimes that's easier said than done, but try to follow that if you can. If you're new to the hobby, you'll minimize breaking this cap loose here on the top, which again, if you haven't broken the vacuum seal on the tube, you can repair it. Just get you some super glue for glass, and you can glue this thing back down in a matter of seconds and be good to go. So you guys tell me what you think about the power transformer. Check this out. The mounting tab right here is bent up, and of course it needs to, because you can see the tube was right up against it here. This is the type 58 tube. So again, if this ear was all the way down, I don't think the tube itself would be able to make it in there. And something else is odd. You can see the hardware here nice and shiny. And here, this is a smaller head on the back. So makes me just wonder if that's the original transformer. Plus you can see it's just a little cockeyed, but again, maybe that just loosened up during shipping, because you can see the whole chassis itself here is bent on the back side that we'll have to try to square up. Of Cool thing is I've got a serial number here on the unit, 41328. So remind me not to stick my fingers underneath because I still haven't discharged those caps underneath. But not bad looking on top. A little rust here that we'll deal with, and a little rust here on the transformer. I'll probably paint it as well. Well, maybe just clean it up really good. And the laminations here, a little rust. I'll just use a nylon brush there and just try to get the crud out and clean that up. Let that be. And maybe just a little bit of rust there underneath the speaker as well. Has a Magnavox speaker, and it looks like a 2500 ohm field coil. And probably just one of the few, but the tuning condenser is clean as can be. Well, it's not clean, but it's at least it rotates freely. Oh yeah, I wanted to get back over here to this work that's been done. So I don't think I did this because that doesn't look like my work, but you can see some red tape here in this, but maybe I soldered in something, on this just to get the radio going. I'll have to go back and look at my first video and see. So this may be my bad on a temporary basis just to make the radio play. I can't recall. Alright, let's get it flipped over here. This thing is heavy, heavy, heavy with that power transformer. And let's just see if it'll set there as such here so I can show you guys this underneath. Again, you can see here where the chassis bent. I'll try to straighten that out best I can. This switch back here at the back, I couldn't remember at first if there was a band switch, but it's actually just a tone control. So the capacitor that you see across it here should just be there to change the bass treble functionality. And there's the work that's been done before that I was concerned about. You guys can see it there. Hopefully that's showing up. That's the electrolytics, and you can see they're shoved back in. I know they're not original, and they're placed underneath this holding tab, but you can see how it's done. Everything's just kind of floating out there in free space. So whoever did it, I mean, obviously the radio is functional, so I don't want to discredit them for making it play again, but probably not the safest or neatest way to do that. So we'll go back and clean that up. And also notice these ceramic caps in here also. I'll probably replace those. But not much to the circuit here. I think we can make fairly quick work out of this. Alright, let me get those caps discharged here real quick, and then let's see what's next. One other thing here that's definitely worth showing for folks that are new, and I don't think my eye's playing tricks on me here, but I think this is a gimmick capacitor. And you can see there's just a piece of wire that's been cut. They're just twisted together. So just creates a real low value, a picofarad value of capacitance for the circuit. And we'll see if we can find that on the schematic later and see if that's called out. Again, I don't think those are tied together there. Looks like they're just twisted around each other, creating what's called a gimmick capacitor right here. Now remember, the first one I saw, I was trying to figure it out, didn't know what a gimmick capacitor was, and saw the wires cut, twisted together, tied them together, and course, that didn't make the circuit work, so just kind of a lesson learned. Okay, I've got these capacitors here discharged. Again, I didn't use a resistor to drop the voltage down. I just did a dead short on them between the negative and positive. And again, I just looked over again just to make 100% certain that the radio is not plugged into my Variac, and it's not. And I did that before I touched the electrolytics, but I think these are just stuffed in here. There you go. You can see somebody just bent this down, and it's a nice little holder here, but there you can see the repair I'm talking about. Again, it's functional, it's just not the best way to make the repair. 450 volt caps, and we'll see if I can see what the value is. Looks like they're 10 microfarad. Yep, that's a 10, and the other one's probably a 10 as well, and it is. Again, I'll look at the schematic. Those may meet our needs, and I'll probably just take this piece loose and use a terminal strip or do something just a little different here to tidy that up. Something else here interesting too, underneath the chassis, we'll have to take a look at it. You can see the lead from the power transformer here is just coiled up, and no heat shrink over the end of it here. So I would guess that's just a tap location that's not being used, but when I get the schematic, we'll go back and reference this point just to better understand the connection point on the transformer, assuming it's called out.